Plenty of interesting game news happened this week. Let's get started. There were quite a few announcements for the big gaming events that are happening soon. The 2015 Game Developers Conference, or GDC, is taking place from March 2nd to 6th. Unlike most other gaming conventions, GDC is primarily focused on developers. It's not only where developers go to network with one another, but also to learn more about design and development, as well as business practices for games. The Game Developers Conference also serves as something of a showcase for technical innovations. For instance, take a look at this trailer for some of the CG technology that Silicon Studio is showing off. If you happen to be in the neighborhood of GDC 2015 and want to check their stuff out, you would just visit them at booth number 316. This year, GDC is taking place at the Moscone Center in San Francisco, California. One of the bigger companies that'll be doing GDC 2015 this year is Valve. Earlier in the week, Valve announced in traditional Valve fashion, that is, without any fanfare, that they'll be showing off Steam VR hardware at GDC 2015. This is the first we're hearing of an official announcement for Valve's virtual reality system. According to their announcement, their plans are to bring out a newly refined Steam controller, along with new living room devices, so that is Steam machines, alongside this Steam VR hardware system. We invited folks on Blackman and Robin.com, as well as on our Instagram, to weigh in on what they thought the Steam VR system would be like. We got some fantastically wild speculation, sane speculation, from Average Allie over on Instagram. Allie says that she truthfully feels as though this could beat out the Oculus Rift. Because Steam is run by a very talented game-making company, that is Valve, they could have the ability to create a spectacular game that really takes advantage of this new hardware. We thank Allie for her speculation, and we'd also like to let her know that she's the winner of a Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball Steam key that we'd been saving just for a special speculator. Now, right after GDC, in fact there's a little bit of overlap, is PAX East 2015. PAX East 2015 takes place at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center from March 6th through the 8th. Now, PAX is tremendously different from GDC. Now, even though there are panels at both GDC and PAX, even though there are folks exhibiting their stuff at GDC and PAX, PAX, or the Penny Arcade Expo, is really meant for the consumers of games. I've been to PAX East before, and it really is a fantastic event. If you look for PAX on blackmanandrobin.com, you'll see plenty of our past coverage. This includes previews, interviews, and more. There are a couple things that I always recommend when going to PAX. First is, stay hydrated. Second, check out Nintendo. Seriously, Nintendo always has cool swag that they're giving out, and their games are inevitably awesome. This year, you might want to take a look at what Square Enix is showing off. Apparently, they're giving away a Final Fantasy-themed t-shirt, specifically Final Fantasy XIV. It just says, I beat Shiva. Now, the only way to get this t-shirt is by visiting them during PAX East 2015 and playing Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn. There, you'll face the boss, Shiva, and if you manage to beat her, you get the shirt. It's not the most exciting bit of swag. The most exciting bits of swag are the PCs that you might win, but it's certainly a shirt that'll have some memories of PAX if you decide to go. You might also want to check out some of the smaller indie games that will be at PAX East, such as Titan Souls, which is super gorgeous and absolutely worth a look. On the topic of games worth checking out at PAX, Masquerada, Songs and Shadows looks really cool. It's an RPG that draws some inspiration from Bastion and Transistor, and it'll be coming to Mac, PC, and consoles sometime early in 2016. Witching Hour, the developers behind it, will be showing it off at booth number 8236. In addition to having the game's demo, they're also offering some swag. What that swag is, I am not at liberty to say. Nonetheless, if you're at PAX East and you think this is your sort of game, check it out. What could be scarier, what could possibly be darker than Darkest Dungeon? Apparently, the only thing scarier than the game, Darkest Dungeon, is the curation on the Windows Store. If you purchased Darkest Dungeon on the Windows Store, earlier in the week, unfortunately, you got scammed. Red Hook Games did not put their game on the Windows Store. In fact, it wasn't even their game that was available to purchase, but a 2 megabyte file that we're suspecting is probably a virus. We didn't want to get our hands on it. Apparently, this isn't the first time this so-called developer has done this. This same person is selling a fake version of Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, and other pieces of software. The fake game has since been removed, but this does raise some serious questions about the Windows Store. How many more of these scams will pop up and infect people's computers? Microsoft is pushing hard to compete with Google and Apple. They've realized that there's plenty of money to be had in having a curated app marketplace of your own, but if there's no curation, you're eventually going to lose the trust of your consumers. Hopefully Microsoft gets everything sorted by the time Windows 10 comes out. If you've been following the Kickstarter for Windwalkers, you might be pleased to know that the first chapter of The Horde of Counterwind, or La Horde de Contrevent, please excuse my French, is now available in English. In case you're not familiar with it, Windwalkers is based off the aforementioned book, and it's set in a world in which people are walking against the wind. Seriously, the wind has been blowing for a very long time, and there are groups of people, hordes, sent out to find its source. Unfortunately, no horde has ever come back. In addition to the first chapter of the book, we also have more information about the Kickstarter and the game project on blackmanandrobin.com right now. Now regarding updates and releases, we have plenty. First up is the digital board game, A Druid's Duel. Now this game was released earlier in the week, and it looks very interesting. I really like the art style, and the gameplay sounds pretty interesting as well. It's a board game where you have to modify the board to fit your needs. Your goal is to take as much territory as you can from your enemies. It's out now on Steam for Mac, PC, and Linux, and it's definitely worth checking out. If you're a fan of Tim Burton, you might want to take a look at Ascura, Lost Light. Now, Ascura was inspired by some of Tim Burton's work. It's a pretty simple puzzle platformer in which your goal is to bring light back to a world that has been tainted by darkness. I have yet to play it, but it certainly looks pretty. Personally, I can't help but be reminded of Outland, a puzzle platformer that came out a few years back, but had some rather different mechanics. Now, if you're into real-time strategy games, you might be pleased to know that There Came an Echo has just been released. It's a cyberpunk RTS, but it has a bit of a twist regarding its control scheme. In the game, you control a squad with your voice. This certainly isn't the first time that voice commands have been done in a video game, but it's the first time that I've heard of them being done in an RTS. And thus far, the game has gotten some pretty good reviews, so it might be worth looking into if it sounds like your sort of thing.
How willing are we to destroy each other?
Miranda! Mark. Hell yeah!
There are many questions still unanswered.
On the subject of real-time strategy
see what you
games,
have to
the
say.
Castle game has just been announced. It's a fantasy RTS that's coming out sometime soon for the PlayStation 4. It isn't too common for RTS to come out on consoles. The last good console RTS I've heard of, besides Pikmin 3, was Halo Wars for the Xbox 360. Developing an RTS for a console presents a set of unique issues and challenges. To begin with, the genre is very keyboard and mouse driven in general. There are a lot of key commands, there's lots of clicking to do, lots of minute details to pick up on. An RTS for a console needs to be much different than an RTS for a PC. There was an interesting piece on the PlayStation blog about the design of the Castle game that's definitely worth taking a look at if you're interested in that sort of thing. While there isn't a release date on the game, it is supposed to be coming out this year. Now, while we're on a strategy game roll, you may be pleased to know that Sid Meier's Starships is coming to Mac, PC, and iPad on March 12, 2015 for $12.99. Very reasonable, if you ask me. Now, the interesting thing about Sid Meier's Starships is that it links into Sid Meier's Civilization Beyond Earth. Now, while Civilization Beyond Earth was panned for having a fair bit less personality than its predecessor Civ 5, and a whole lot less personality than its spiritual predecessor, Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri, I got a chance to play a bit of a game during a free weekend on Steam, and I have to say, it's not bad. Just don't walk in expecting the next Alpha Centauri. Our last bit of strategy game news regards Fable Legends. The upcoming Fable Legends is a rather unusual game. In Fable Legends, you can either play as a hero, as is tradition in the Fable universe, or a villain. However, unlike previous games, Fable Legends is a third-person action game. Well, that is, if you're the hero. If you're the villain, however, you'll be playing Fable Legends as a strategy game. Fable Legends has very unusual asymmetric multiplayer. It'll definitely be worth checking out when it comes out sometime soon. The game is coming out on the Xbox One, as well as for Windows 10. Also, did we mention, Fable Legends is going to be free-to-play. The game's monetization is a bit like that of League of Legends. Some of the heroes in the game go around in a rotation. Different heroes will be free to play as from time to time. If you like a hero enough to play as him or her permanently, you can either use the silver coins that are the in-game currency of Fable Legends, or real-world money. If you decide to play the villain and put vicious creatures in the paths of the heroes, you should also know that the creatures go on rotation as well, and that you can purchase them with either silver or real money. On the subject of MOBAs, if you're into mythology in general, you might want to take a look at Smite. They've just released an update that brings Bellona, the Roman goddess of war, to the game. She also gets her own super cool lore video. Now, while I confess to not being too familiar with Smite, I have to admit that this looks pretty cool. I just might give it a shot sometime if I can manage to wean myself off Dota. If you have fond memories of Descent, you might want to take a look into this 6 Degrees of Freedom roguelike called Sub-Level 0. This game is coming out in summer of 2015 for Mac, PC, and Linux and features Oculus Rift support, and while I can't yet comment on the gameplay, the visuals are absolutely stunning in this trailer. I'll be keeping an eye on Sub-Level 0. Stick with us as we'll be reporting on any new developments that the game sees. David Pittman, the developer of the first-person shooter roguelike Eldritch, has announced a new game called Neon Struct. In Neon Struct, you play as Gillian Cleary. A former spy living in a police state, Jill has been framed for treason. Neon Struct, unlike Pittman's previous game, is a stealth game. Set in a world where mass surveillance is the norm, you really have to do your best to keep a low profile. If you think yourself some sort of ad mogul, you might want to take a look at the latest game by Terry Kavanagh, Grab Them by the Eyes. The game is available to play for free at terrykavanagh.com/grabthembytheeyes. It's a game in which you run a hot dog stand, and some rather unfriendly competition has rolled into town. Right next to you, in fact. It's a brief but interesting game in which you manage your finances and use slightly underhanded advertising in order to beat out the competition, which is using very underhanded advertising. One of the stranger things I've seen this week was the announcement for something called Veroto. Now, Veroto is a base that goes underneath your chair that motorizes it for the sake of virtual reality gaming. When you move and aim yourself in an Oculus Rift, your chair is going to move with you. This might not seem like a big deal for virtual reality besides adding an extra layer of immersion, and for most people it probably won't be. However, one thing that Roto seeks to help fix is the nausea that some folks experience when they're playing games in virtual reality. If you suffer from motion sickness when you play first-person games, Veroto might actually be a fix for you. If you're looking for more information on Veroto, we've got an article about it on blackmanandrobin.com right now. If you've ever wanted to fight tuberculosis in a game, Project Sanitarium is going to offer you that chance. It's an educational game in which you play as a doctor who takes on tuberculosis cases. It has some strategy elements, but also mashes in a couple of arcade minigames that look pretty neat. It's being developed by Radication Games, a student team from Abertay University, and it should be coming out sometime soon.
Help fight the world's oldest disease. Sanitarium.
The Space Invaders-inspired Titan Attacks has been released on the Nintendo 3DS. It comes from Puppy Games, the developers responsible for Revenge of the Titans, along with other arcadey sorts of games. If you enjoyed Fruit Ninja on Kinect for the Xbox 360, you might be pleased to know that Fruit Ninja 2 has been announced. Coming out for the Xbox One, this game features 4-player multiplayer, and let's be honest, you might be a little bit embarrassed to have your friends over, but you're going to be having the time of your life slashing up fruit.
To the world, she was the Fruit Ninja.
Finally, Lightfall has hit Steam Greenlight. In this puzzle platformer, which is coming to Mac and PC, you explore the forgotten world of Numbra, completely shrouded in darkness. You have amnesia, you have to face deadly challenges, etc. It's pretty much your average platformer, but it looks very pretty. As we all know, I have a soft spot in my heart, or on my thumbs, for pretty games. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Attention Actos users. The FDA has warned about the risk of taking the type 2 diabetes drug, Actos, and now the manufacturer has been ordered to pay a staggering $9 billion in punitive damages for hiding evidence that Actos causes bladder cancer. If you or a loved one were diagnosed with bladder cancer after taking Actos, call the Rely On Group now at 800-715-9507 for a free consultation. That's 800-715-9507.
Well, that's it for this week's game news. Be sure to follow at Blackman and Robin for all the latest reviews, previews, and interviews. And follow me at Jordan Cameron for my
Fruit
other
should be
reviews.
allowed to rest in peace. But not with her. She's like a fruit grave robber.
No one knew her as Maddie Friedman. To the world, she was the Fruit Ninja.
It's so good. See you, Dad.
Hey, Mom, I said no crust.
She didn't break Fruit Ninja records. She obliterated them. And word spread fast.
Hey! You're not supposed to be in here.
Word spread real fast.
Hi, Skoru! Subarashi Brandara.
Also, could you please cut in half? Or, never mind, I'll just finish it later.
Fruit Ninja. People like that shouldn't be allowed to walk the streets. Because someone has to clean that up, and that someone is me.
Here we are at the house of the so-called Fruit Ninja, where 16-year-old Maddie Friedman has been making quite the name for herself.
But she's still no Jesper.
He made Maddie look like that unibrow in the turtleneck.
Legend has it, Jesper's parents were killed in a freak mango accident. Actually, guys, I'm a vet.
Jesper's challenge surprised nobody, really.
As good as Maddie Friedman. Jesper.
Maddie, you, me, battle mode.
You want to be the Fruit Ninja. The only Fruit Ninja. I'm not even Japanese.
Maddie, I assume you heard Jesper's challenge. Do you have a response?
Yeah, sure, you're on.
This was no ordinary Fruit Ninja battle mode.
This was the real deal. Real pineapple, real bananas.
Real swords.
Okay, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, let's go. Looking in my eyes, you never wanna cross me. Sensei, cause he's the one on top of me. Bow down, not a master chop. Yo, anything you need, I can pass you rock. Be fine, fold the thumb. I can never have another good enough on the run. And the blade so sharp, I can cut your hand.
We're not gonna use swords anymore.
Stop it.
It itches.
Only on Xbox One.